right, here we have Ethereum versus the dollar. Mr. Josh is requesting the bi-weekly actually for Ethereum right here, and this is somewhat problematic for the long term. Now, I would say that you do have an obvious area of interest, of course, on a long-term chart like this, which again, this is a bi-weekly chart, so this is very long term right here, which would be right here, basically kind of the area that you're basing off of right now. Probably most likely to bounce off this region first, at least in the short-term timeframes before any sort of potential continuation lower. But I know where Josh wants me to go with on this one. I'm going to guess, yes, we have 1, 2, 3 drives of bearish divergence right here. Typically speaking, after 3 drives of bearish divergence, at minimum, I'm targeting the 21, which we certainly have already gotten thus far. And at maximum, I'm going to be targeting the 55, which is significantly lower in the 21 to 2200-ish region. Obviously, that's probably unlikely to happen anytime soon, and that would imply that Bitcoin works its way down at least $35,000, probably more like $30,000. In this case right here, the weekly is, well, is an issue. It's a bit of an issue as you do kind of slink below the 55 E for the first time in a very long time. Monthly, of course, as well, does have the 1, 2, 3 drives of bearish divergence as it kind of marches upwards and onwards. And again, my target there would be, yeah, basically the 21, which is much lower. So there's going to be bounces along the way, obviously. Probably in the short term, more likely to bounce around this region, to be honest with you. We do see hidden bearish divergence kind of confirming before that last major drive to the downside. I would argue that that's very likely already played out. We see that 4-hour BBWP is getting way up there. Still obviously base off at the 100 percentile region for, a few bars before going into a bit of a contraction phase. But when I go over here to the daily, we see that it's just expanding. It's just expanding off the lows. And of course, we did also have some hidden bearish divergence right there. Daily Jewel is also showing some downside here too. So whilst I probably am looking for a bit of a short-term bounce off this region, I would not say that that bounce is the hopium bounce that I think a lot of people are looking for just yet. Just like Bitcoin, which we can now march down the target for talking about a potential long-term reversal, Ethereum would also be marched down as well. And in this case, it would be back over here at about 3,400, just above 3,400, which I'm actually going to put in a nice little blue box right there. There we go. Anywhere above there on a daily closure, and we could potentially be speaking about long-term reversals. I do want to talk about, I do want to check out, and we'll subsequently talk about momentum oscillators over here as well, of which stochastic momentum is pointed down below 3065, and volatility again very low from an HVP's perspective. Buy daily is doing what? Freshly crossing down. Now it's in the critical zone. I mean, I don't know how much more momentum this one really has before getting a nice big bounce, but it very likely does have at least one more try to the downside before that next potential big bounce. And then the 5-day, which I forgot to go over on Bitcoin, and apologies on that, very highly unprofessional, but hey man, the coffee, it disrupts my stomach and I desperately needed it today. The 5-day is showing downside as long as below 33.18 in this case. So I do think I do think that you're probably setting up for a short-term bounce relatively soon on your lower timeframes, below a daily essentially. But assuming that bounce fails to get above even, 3,100, let alone fucking 3,400, it's very likely to be just that, a failed bounce before the next potential long-term targets, which you are specifically asking about the bi-weekly. Now, what would constitute a break in this case? A break of this case, thus targeting the 21 to 2300-ish region, would be, of course, a weekly closure. Basically, anywhere here anywhere below 2800, I would say, would do it for me. With looking for that next move to happen, probably over the next month to month and a half in this case. I know that the biweekly again is what you're focusing on, so you're probably looking somewhere down around here. I do think that that's a relevant region, but still. I'd go with the monthly first. It does actually hold a bit more weight in this context, and it's slightly higher, just below 2300 as that targeted region based off of the bearish divergence call. Should also notify this as well. We do see monthly Jewel pointed down, which is, I mean, I don't know how much I trust it on the monthly just yet, just because we don't really have that much data to populate this, to populate an indicator like this. But would also be pointed down as well, just for global confluence. Anyways, hopefully that was helpful, and there you go for Ethereum. Yeah, I think that's it for Ethereum actually.